I was the last human alive, until an alien woman found me. I remember waking one bitter morning to a silence, so profound it nearly drowned out my own heartbeat. I had spent what felt like endless years wandering a desolate earth, the final remnant of a species that had once teemed with life, ambition, and hope. The cities were in ruins, nature had reclaimed its territory, and the echoes of human laughter and sorrow had long since faded into myth. I had learned to survive on scavenged scraps and the memory of lost voices. In my solitude, I convinced myself that I was utterly alone, a solitary spark amid the darkness of an abandoned world. Every day I roamed the crumbling highways and overgrown streets, gathering what little I could salvage, always careful, always alert to any sign of life. But I had long since given up hope that there might be another soul like mine. It was on such a day, with the sky a murky gray and the wind whispering through skeletal trees, that I found shelter in what remained of an old underground transit station. I had made it my fortress, a place where I could hide from the brutal elements and the memories of humanity's fall. I spent my days repairing broken machines, scavenging fuel for a generator that barely kept the lights on, and writing in a journal that I never really intended to be read by anyone but myself. I clung to these routines as if they were the last vestiges of order in a chaotic, unfeeling world. Each night, I would sit in the dim glow of a single lamp, reflecting on the past and mourning the loss of voices, friendships, and love. The crushing weight of loneliness was a constant companion, and the belief that I was the final human left me in a state of resigned melancholy. Then one evening, as a cold rain began to patter against the cracked concrete above, I heard a sound, a soft, almost imperceptible whisper carried on the wind. At first, I thought it was just the rain, a trick of my imagination amid the solitude. But as I sat listening, the sound grew clearer, more insistent, until I could make out words that did not belong to any language I knew. My heart quickened with a mix of dread and anticipation. I followed the sound through the labyrinth of abandoned corridors in the station, my flashlight beam dancing over graffiti and faded signs that once guided commuters to safety. The whisper led me to a narrow exit that opened onto the ruined street above. I stepped out cautiously, the cold drizzle soaking through my worn jacket, and scanned the desolate landscape for its source. In the distance, near a collapsed building draped in ivy and tangled with remnants of human progress, I saw her. At first, she was merely a silhouette, a figure with graceful, unfamiliar lines against the flickering neon of a ruined billboard. As I approached, my eyes adjusted to the darkness, and I saw that she was not human. Her skin had a subtle iridescence, shimmering with hues of deep violet and silver under the intermittent glow of streetlights. Her long hair, dark as the night, cascaded down her back in soft, flowing waves that contrasted with her delicate, angular features. Though she wore garments that appeared both futuristic and regal, there was a weariness in her eyes that spoke of exile and loss. And then, in a voice both musical and trembling, she said, "I have searched for you. Save me." I froze, a mixture of astonishment and cautious hope surging through me. For a moment, the world around me, which had been a silent wasteland of memory, erupted in color and possibility. "Who are you?" I managed to ask, my voice raw with emotion. She took a tentative step forward, her eyes shimmering with tears that glistened like tiny stars. "I am Seraphine," she replied softly, "Princess of the Celestine, a people who once soared among the stars but were scattered and nearly forgotten when our world fell silent." Her words, fragile yet resolute, filled the space between us with a promise of connection I had long thought lost. I felt the icy grip of solitude begin to loosen as her presence, luminous and enigmatic, warmed the barren landscape of my heart. Seraphine explained that she had been stranded on Earth many centuries ago when her people's mighty starship, the Celestine, was forced to jettison its remnants during a desperate retreat from a cosmic calamity. The wreckage had drifted through space for eons until fate, or perhaps a cruel twist of cosmic irony, had cast it down to Earth, its technology beyond the grasp of mortal understanding. In the chaos of the crash, Seraphine had been separated from her kin and left to wander the ruined cities, her royal lineage and advanced abilities hidden beneath layers of sorrow and alien grace. Over time, she had become a ghost among the ruins, a legend whispered by those few who still dared to dream of a lost civilization. Her survival had been a secret guarded by the ravages of time and the cruelty of fate. And now, after so many lonely years, she had found me, a man who, like her, had believed himself to be the last of his kind. At first, I was overwhelmed by the enormity of her story and the realization that I was not, in fact, alone in this desolate world. I helped her back to the underground station, where I had managed to preserve a small semblance of human comfort, a worn sofa, stacks of old books, and a generator that hummed a lonely lullaby. As I tended to her injuries, minor, but not insignificant, from the long, harsh journey, I listened to her speak of ancient glories, of interstellar empires that had once flourished with life and color. She told me of the Celestine's wisdom, of her people's dream to unite the stars in harmony, and of the betrayal that had shattered that dream. Every word resonated with a sadness that mirrored my own, yet also carried a spark of defiant hope. I found myself drawn to her not only by compassion, but by the realization that, in her presence, I could rediscover the very essence of what it meant to be human. Days melted into weeks as I and Seraphine forged a delicate existence in the shadows of humanity's remnants. We shared meals of scavenged food, huddled together under the dim light of a flickering lamp, and exchanged stories of loss and survival. She taught me fragments of her ancient language, a series of lyrical syllables that spoke of distant galaxies, of love and honor. And I, in turn, recounted the simple joys of Earth, the laughter of children in long-abandoned parks, the comforting routine of a sunrise over a quiet horizon, and the gentle warmth of shared hope. In these moments, the heavy burden of loneliness that had defined my existence for so long began to lift, replaced by a burgeoning sense of purpose that transcended our disparate origins. But our newfound sanctuary was fragile, a delicate haven in a world that had long since forgotten the beauty of life. Rumors of our existence spread quickly among the scattered survivors and the small communities that clung to life on the outskirts of ruined cities. Some whispered that an alien princess had been spotted roaming the streets, a vision of sorrow and grace that defied the desolation of Earth. Others, driven by fear or greed, sought to capture her, to exploit her advanced heritage, and perhaps restore a semblance of power to those who still ruled through force. I knew that if word got out, our lives would be in constant peril, and I resolved to protect Seraphine at all costs. We fortified the underground station, securing entrances and creating hidden compartments where we could retreat if necessary. I scavenged parts from abandoned military depots to construct rudimentary defenses, and together we learned to move with stealth through the ruined corridors of the city. One particularly bleak evening, as a harsh wind swept through shattered windows and the distant sound of sirens echoed through empty streets, our fragile peace was shattered by the unmistakable sound of approaching vehicles. I peered out through a cracked viewport and saw a convoy of armored trucks and sleek, predatory hovercraft descending upon the outpost. My heart pounded as I realized that a faction of human warlords, those who had long claimed to be the rightful heirs of a lost empire, had learned of our existence and intended to capture Seraphine for their own nefarious purposes. The very thought of her falling into the hands of those who would exploit her was unbearable. I gathered what little I could salvage from our limited stockpile, a flare gun, a few tools, and the old radio that still crackled with static, and whispered urgently to her, "We must leave now. They are coming." Seraphine's eyes, usually so soft and sorrowful, flashed with fierce determination. "I will not be a prisoner again," she said, her voice trembling with both resolve and pain. Together, we crept through the labyrinthine passages of the underground station, slipping out into the cold night with only the stars and our own courage to guide us. We moved quickly and quietly, the sound of our footsteps swallowed by the howling wind and the distant clamor of approaching vehicles. Every moment was a test of our resolve, every step a defiance of the isolation that had defined our lives. We raced through abandoned streets and overgrown alleyways, our hearts pounding as we sought refuge in the darkness. After what felt like an eternity of perilous flight, we reached a small, hidden community, a gathering of survivors who had managed to carve out a semblance of order amid the chaos. They welcomed us with wary curiosity and, as we explained our plight in halting but heartfelt words, their eyes softened with empathy. It turned out that among them were individuals who still believed in a future where diversity and unity could triumph over despair. I began to help fortify their makeshift settlements, sharing my knowledge of engineering and resourcefulness, while Seraphine, with her otherworldly grace and ancient wisdom, inspired them with tales of her lost civilization and the dreams of the Celestine. In that small haven, our bond deepened, and I slowly began to understand that perhaps I was not meant to be the last human alive after all, that somewhere, hidden among the ruins, lay the seeds of a new beginning. As the months passed, the community grew. Together, we rebuilt a semblance of society from the wreckage of a world gone mad. We planted gardens in the scorched earth, repaired crumbling buildings, and, most importantly, learned to trust again. Seraphine became a living symbol of hope, a radiant reminder that even in the darkest of times, life could bloom anew. I taught the survivors the principles of engineering, showing them how to repurpose discarded technology into something useful, and slowly, the scars of isolation and despair began to fade. The memory of my solitary existence in the underground station was replaced by the vibrant chatter of neighbors, the laughter of children rediscovering joy, and the shared determination to build a better tomorrow. Yet even as our new society took root, threats lingered on the fringes. The warlords who had once roamed the devastated cities were not easily vanquished, and there were nights when the sound of distant engines and raised voices reminded us that danger was never far away. I took on the role of a protector, using every bit of my hard-won ingenuity to fortify our community and ensure that no one would ever again be forced to live in fear. Seraphine, too, evolved from a sorrowful refugee into a leader whose wisdom bridged the gap between the lost glory of her people and the fragile hopes of the survivors. Together, we forged alliances with other scattered groups, spreading our message of unity and resilience. It was a time of constant vigilance, of rebuilding not only physical structures, but the very spirit of humanity. In quiet moments, as I sat on a rickety porch overlooking a garden blooming against all odds, I often reflected on the path that had brought me here. I remembered the long, lonely days in my bunker, the silence that once felt like a comforting embrace, but later revealed itself to be a prison of isolation. I recalled the desperate nights when the cold seemed unbearable and every shadow carried the weight of loss. And then I remembered the moment I heard that soft, trembling plea outside my door, the sound that shattered the walls I had built around myself. That plea, imbued with both despair and hope, had been the spark that ignited a chain of events so extraordinary that it defied belief. Seraphine's arrival had transformed not only my life, but the destiny of our entire community. I had gone from believing that I was the last human alive, a solitary remnant of a bygone era, to realizing that every end carries within it the promise of a new beginning. Our love, forged in the crucible of loss and nurtured through shared dreams, became a beacon for those who had long believed that hope was a relic of the past. With each passing day, as the community grew stronger and the ruins of the old world gave way to vibrant new life, I felt a deep, abiding certainty that the future belonged not to despair but to the relentless spirit of those who dared to believe in tomorrow. There were moments of heartbreak, too. I watched as memories of a once thriving humanity faded into whispered legends, and I grieved for the loved ones I had lost in the chaos of a world undone. Yet in Seraphine's gentle smile and the determined glint in her eyes, I found the strength to carry on. We began to document our journey, recording the stories of survivors and the lessons learned in the crucible of rebirth. These chronicles, written on salvaged paper and transmitted via makeshift networks, became our legacy, a testament to the enduring power of hope and the unbreakable bonds forged in the face of adversity. As time passed, our small community began to attract attention from far beyond our immediate circle. Scholars and diplomats from distant lands came to study our methods of rebuilding, fascinated by the ingenuity that had turned desolation into a thriving mosaic of life. I was invited to speak at gatherings and interstellar forums, my humble tale evolving into a legend of resilience and transformation. I spoke not of glory or conquest, but of the quiet triumphs that had defined our journey, the small acts of courage that had sparked a revolution, the power of a single human touch to awaken a forgotten soul, and the unwavering belief that even in the darkest times, light could be found. The world around us was slowly healing, the scars of war giving way to the tender shoots of renewal. In the midst of this renaissance, Seraphine and I often found solace in each other's company. On cool, clear nights, we would sit side by side on a worn step outside our makeshift home, watching as the moon rose over the rebuilt city, its light reflecting in her eyes like the promise of a new dawn. She would speak softly of her lost people, the rich tapestry of her civilization, the art and music that had once filled her world, and the dreams that had been shattered by betrayal and strife. I, in turn, recounted the simple joys of my past life on Earth, the laughter of friends and family, the quiet beauty of a sunrise, and the enduring hope that had carried me through endless solitude. In those moments, I realized that our differences were not barriers but bridges, links between two cultures that, when united, could create a future brighter than either could achieve alone. Our story, born from the ruins of a dead world and nurtured by the shared determination of survivors, grew into a legend that resonated far beyond the boundaries of our rebuilt city. People from distant lands came to hear our tale, to learn how a human who had once been the last of his kind had found love and purpose in the unlikeliest of places. They marveled at the transformation of our community, a place where despair had once reigned, now turned into a vibrant beacon of hope and collaboration. And as I stood before these diverse audiences, I spoke of the power of compassion, the importance of embracing change, and the belief that every end carries the seed of a new beginning. There were those who doubted, who whispered that our achievements were mere anomalies, the product of desperate circumstances rather than a lasting paradigm shift. Yet the evidence was undeniable. In our community, technology was repurposed for sustainable growth, ancient ruins were transformed into centers of learning, and every person, regardless of their past, was given a chance to rebuild a life filled with dignity and purpose. The alien princess who had once wandered the desolate streets of a broken world had become a symbol of resilience, a living reminder that love and hope can thrive even where all seems lost. I sometimes think back to that fateful night when I first heard her soft, desperate call outside my bunker. In the darkness of that moment, when I believed I was the last human alive, I had felt the crushing weight of loneliness and despair. But then her voice, fragile, trembling, yet filled with a fierce longing, pierced through the silence and awakened me to a possibility I had long thought impossible. It was in that moment that my world was irrevocably altered. The void of isolation was filled with the promise of connection, and the belief that I was alone was shattered by the radiant light of another soul. As the seasons passed and our rebuilt world continued to flourish, I often wandered the streets of our new city, marveling at the vibrant tapestry of life that had emerged from the ashes. I saw children laughing in sunlit parks, elders sharing stories of resilience, and neighbors working side by side to cultivate gardens that burst with color against the gray remnants of the old world. And I would always think of the journey that had brought us here, a journey marked by loss and loneliness, but also by the unyielding human spirit and the transformative power of love. I came to understand that the true measure of survival was not merely the continuation of life, but the ability to transform adversity into a catalyst for growth. I was once the last human alive, a solitary figure in a world devoid of hope. But then an alien princess found me, and together we forged a new beginning, one that transcended the boundaries of species, of past and future, and of all the forces that once sought to keep us divided. Our story became a testament to the idea that even in the darkest hours, when it seems that nothing remains, the spark of connection can ignite a blaze that lights the way to a better tomorrow. Now, as I stand on a sunlit balcony overlooking a thriving city built on the ruins of despair, I feel a profound gratitude for every twist and turn that has defined my journey. I look into Seraphine's eyes that still carry the quiet sorrow of her long exile but now shimmer with the hope of a world reborn, and I know that the future is ours to shape. We have not only reclaimed our lives, but have also become beacons for others, a symbol of the resilience and ingenuity that lies within every soul. The war, the isolation, the endless nights of loneliness, all of it has led to this moment, where love and unity have triumphed over desolation. Our tale is more than a chronicle of survival. It is a reminder that even when the world seems devoid of life and hope, the human heart can still find a reason to believe, to fight, and to love. It is a story of transformation, a journey from the depths of isolation to the heights of connection, from the ruins of a shattered past to the dawn of a promising future. And as long as there are voices in the darkness calling out for salvation, as long as a single soul dares to reach out, there is always the possibility of renewal, of a new beginning. I was the last human alive, or so I had believed, wandering alone in the remnants of a broken world. But then, one stormy night, as the wind howled and the rain pounded against the cold, unyielding walls of my bunker, an alien princess appeared, her soft, desperate plea cutting through the silence like a lifeline. She brought with her the promise of connection, the warmth of a shared destiny, and the hope that even in the bleakest of landscapes, love could light the way forward. Together, we began to rebuild not only a shattered community, but also the very essence of what it means to be alive. Now, as our new world awakens with the laughter of children, the hum of machines repurposed for a brighter future, and the steady, enduring pulse of a community united by hope, I look back on my journey with a sense of wonder and fulfillment. Every hardship, every moment of despair, every glimmer of loneliness has been transformed into a beacon of resilience and a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit. I no longer stand alone in a world of silence. I stand beside Seraphine, a living symbol of renewal, and together we face the future with unshakable determination. They once believed that I was the last human, a solitary remnant of a bygone era destined to fade into oblivion. But fate, in its infinite wisdom, showed me that even in the darkest corners of despair, life finds a way to flourish. An alien princess, lost and forlorn, found me when I needed her most, and in doing so, transformed my loneliness into a legacy of hope, a legacy that now inspires countless souls across our reborn world. And as I step into the bright, uncertain future each day, I carry with me the profound truth that every ending is merely the beginning of something extraordinary.